from this bet, as the beast gear is rightfully Quinn's in the first place. While watching Sam speak, he was amazed at how much confidence Borton had. He didn't stutter when speaking in front of these higher levels, and when pointing to his teammates, it seemed like he was genuine when he said he thought any of them would be able to beat them in the game. "I thought you might say that, of course. I wouldn't just be putting up nothing on our side." Zach reached one of his fellow teammates' bags and pulled out a beast crystal. It was slightly clear in color, and after Quinn used the inspect skill, he was able to tell it was an intermediate beast crystal. "Lithy intermediate beast crystal, compatible with an item from the shop." After using his inspection skill, though, another message that he hadn't seen before appeared. After selecting the message, the system immediately took him to his shop, showing him a single short sword. One of the swords in his shop required this very crystal to be crafted. The weapons from Quinn's shop were of higher quality than one could find in the marketplace. The problem was that nearly all of the weapons on it required him to gather specific items to create them. As he was still a student, he was unable to travel to other beast planets to hunt for these things. For now, he decided he would leave it for the future, after he had left the school. Coming across one of the materials to create a weapon was a golden opportunity for him. "We'll play your little game," Quinn said. "Excellent," Zach replied, not doubting for a second they were going to lose. Outside the arena on the bottom floor, Leo stood outside. He had come from the underground area after checking on the participating students. The real reason why he was there, though, was to check on Peter. He had a hand in helping the students during the matter with True Dream. There was a chance that using their strange and strict methods, the military would find out he was also involved in the case. He wasn't worried, but at the same time he had to prepare for the worst. Originally there was one, and now there are three, Leo thought. He was thinking of the strange auras that he had sensed. At first it was only Quinn. Later Peter's aura had changed, and then a third student had arrived with the same aura. With his ability, he could tell they weren't human, or at least not fully or not the same. The military might be stepping on their toes in something they can't handle. Leo had a hunch that if these people weren't human, they were going to publicly execute one of their kind. Then maybe they would come and try to save him, or at a later date, these actions could cause a lot of trouble, possibly even another war. The human race couldn't handle fighting the Dalki and another unknown entity. If it came to it, maybe the better decision would be for him to save Peter himself. From just underneath Leo's belt, he had a small pouch where he pulled out a small little flask. It was the one that had been found at the last portal expedition. He still didn't know who it belonged to, but he did know it was a strange and powerful item. The aura surrounding it was similar to his weapons. For a simple flask to be made out of high-quality beast material would be a waste. It had to be something special, he thought. He thought that he might have missed something or a special use for the flask. He unscrews the lid from the top of the flask. The contents inside the flask remained the same, as Leo didn't want to throw it away. He swirled it around, looking at the red liquid inside. "That's blood. I wonder if all of this is linked somehow." As he said those words, he could hear the sounds of footsteps rushing towards him. Leo quickly activated his ability, allowing him to cover a wider range. After doing this, he was even more worried than before. For some reason, the figure's aura seemed to be masked. He could still see the figure, but it seems like whatever was heading in his direction was able to suppress it. Eventually, the footsteps slowed, and now he could get a clearer view of it. Seeing it had a human-like shape. Leo calmed down a little, but was still prepared for anything. The figure was now in front of Leo, but of course, Leo could only tell someone was there and not what they looked like. "Where did you get that flask?" a female voice said. Episode 297, Block, Block, Block. After agreeing to the little bet, all 9 of them rented out a booth and headed over to the area. The people who walked by simply ignored what was going on. There were too many people in one section. It blocked outsiders from being able to see anything that was going on. Although they did find it strange that so many people were in one booth, it still wasn't interesting enough for them to actively try and find out what was happening. Now, all that was left was to decide who from which team would go first. "Please let me do it," Sam volunteered himself. "I know you guys just met me and don't know, but those guys rubbed me the wrong way. Think of it as a freebie. You can observe in the meantime, and when I get stuck on a level, it should make things easier for you guys." Since Sam was insistent and sincere, the others found it hard to refuse his offer. In addition, Quinn liked the look of determination in his eyes. "Sure, go ahead," Quinn responded. They were confident that they wouldn't lose, especially against some of the other students. But against people like these that had never tried to get through life with their hard work, then no, they wouldn't allow themselves to lose to people like this. Sam, on the other hand, volunteered because he was worried that the others might humiliate themselves. He could tell by the stripes on their shoulders that they were only first years. It was most likely that they had never played a game like this before. The game was more difficult than it looked. One would have to be able to keep their concentration at their best while also multitasking. If he could beat everyone from the opponent's side, then there would be no need for anyone else to step in. "Zippy will go first," Zach said. The student approached the metal pole while the rest of the players stepped back a few meters away from the room, just outside the game zone. Zippy was a level 4 ability user. He was the lowest on the other team. 3, 2, 1, level 1 start. The game had started. The top 2 sections of the metal pole started twisting. At first, the machine was incredibly slow, and Zippy was able to block 2 attacks. This continued for a little while. Quinn noticed that only 2 parts of the machine were moving. This was due to the machine only being set at level 1. What Quinn also realized was the other part of the machine would only move once the person placed their hand or leg down. After blocking the attack, if one were to keep their arms up, then the machine wouldn't start until it was able to sense that the arm had gone back down again. 45 seconds had passed. All of a sudden, the machine started speeding up for the last 15 seconds. Zippy's expression changed as a little bit of sweat started running down his face. Beep! 1 minute had passed and the sound of the buzzer had gone off. This indicated he had passed. Zippy let out a big sigh while he wiped the sweat from his forehead. He walked back to his teammates. "Good job, Zippy. If you couldn't even pass level 1, then I was going to ask why you were still hanging around us," Zach said. Zippy held his head down when he walked past the other. He had no response to give. Next was Quinn's team. "Whoa, go on, Pam," Feck shouted while clapping his hands. "It's Sam," Borden corrected him, slapping his head, and slightly embarrassed as to why he was even with such an idiot. Even though the game had started, Sam didn't look nervous at all. Instead, he was calmly breathing and keeping it steady while blocking all of the attacks. "He's quite good, at least he's been taught well," Borden commented. Quinn thought the same. Once he concentrated and closed his eyes, he was able to focus on his hearing. When he listened to Sam's heartbeat, he could tell it was stable, unlike the contestant from before. Even during the last 15 seconds, Sam stayed the same. When Sam walked back to the others, they each gave him a high five and congratulated him on a good job. "Look at them, celebrating when they only passed level 1. They're acting as if they've already won," Zach said in an annoyed tone. It was Zippy's turn once again. This time he was on level 2. On this level, 3 of the different sections started moving. This caused the player to also move up and down, blocking the attacks not only to their head, but also the ones headed towards their body. Zippy was doing well so far, with only 15 more seconds to go. Just like last time, it sped up. In the last quarter, Zippy blocked the first 2 hits and lifted his hand to block an attack to the left of his face, and then another to his right. This was when the others started noticing something wrong. Although the machine strikes weren't all that powerful, if the attack wasn't properly blocked, it would still hurt. It was quite similar to someone giving a soft padded punch, especially since the bars themselves were covered. Yet for some reason, Zippy's hands were shaking. When the 3rd bar swung towards the right side of his rib, Zippy hesitated since he thought back to the words Zach said. His concentration broke, and it ruined his form. His movements became as erratic as he was nervous. This slip-in was more than enough. He was just a split second late in blocking the blow, heading towards his ribs. Beep, beep, beep. Game over. As he walked back to his team, he hung his head in shame. He didn't even bother making eye contact with Zach. Zach, too, didn't say anything to him. It was a stupid mistake someone at their level should never make. In his mind, Zippy wanted to blame Zach for placing too much pressure on him. However, he knew that his words would be pointless. Now, it was time for Sam to go again. Just like previously, he dealt with the multiple bars coming towards him with ease. When the game started speeding up towards the end, his breathing was a little quicker, but it didn't matter. His pace was incredible, and it looked like he was playing some sort of rhythm game. Beep. Level 2 completed. Instead of heading back to the others, Sam remained in the game room. This was because of their agreement beforehand. After another member from the opposing side was eliminated, the other one would stay and go on to the next level. Like this, the other team would have a slight advantage. This was how the game worked. For example, Zippy lost for being hit in the ribs. By seeing this, Sam would be able to observe and dodge the same strike. Not that it would have helped much at this stage anyway. Level 3 begin. The machine started once again, and there seemed to be a big jump in difficulty from level 2 to level 3. All 6 of the sections were moving this time. Having just completed the last round, Sam was a little tired. However, he still managed to persevere by blocking each of the bars. When the last 15 seconds came, the machine's speed looked like it almost doubled. Left block, knee raise, right block again, elbow down. Sam thought about every move, but this was his downfall. Before, since he had enough time to think about everything he was doing, it worked out for him. Now that the attacks were too fast, he forgot to breathe as he was too focused on thinking and blocking. And suddenly, he needed to gasp for air. When taking in a deep breath, a bar came swinging out and whacked him in the face. Game over. Sam looked disappointed in himself. He thought he would be able to help out the others more. And yet, he was only able to eliminate a single player from the other team. He realized that playing this time of the game on your own and as a team was a little different. When you were on your own, you could start the same level again while remembering the speed and attack patterns. You could easily get better and adjust to the game's level. It wasn't that Sam couldn't pass level 3, but he would have needed to play it a couple more times before being able to do so. With the team mode, they only had one chance. Each player only had a single life. "I'm sorry," Sam said as he walked back to the others. "Don't worry about it. I learned quite a bit from watching you," Quinn said, not taking his eyes off the machine. Sam felt like it was all over after realizing the difference between playing as a team and as a single player. He never imagined that they could win anymore. Instead, he started praying to the karma gods, hoping that their opponents would get what they deserve and somehow lose the match. Another student from Zach's team walked forward and started the game. While Sam was busy playing the game, this student had been practicing at the side while trying to match the machine's speed. Now that he had a good idea of what the attacks would be like, everything seemed to work out for him. After the minute had passed, the game was over and they completed level 3. "All right, who's going next on your team?" Zach asked them with a sneer on his face. While clenching his hand like a fist, like he was getting into a fight, Fex stepped forward. "Ha! Time to show you how easy this little thing is." Before he could get into the game area, a hand appeared on his shoulder and pulled him back. "Let me take this one," Quinn said. Episode 298, Second Chance. For Sam, Zach, and the other teams standing by the sidelines, it came as a surprise for them when they saw who was volunteering. The two people going at it this time were both level 1s. If this was an ordinary team, then Zach wouldn't have thought too much of it. After all, it made sense to allow the weaker one to go first. However, level 1s couldn't be considered weak. They were beyond that. From the beginning, the only two people that the group focused on were Vorden and Sam. They even thought that the other two would have forfeited after knocking them out. Playing against level 1s was just a waste of time. But still, it looked like Fex willingly stepped back, allowing Quinn to take the stage. Vorden, on the other hand, didn't bat an eyelid at the level 1 making his way into the arena. Sam felt that maybe they were letting everyone have a go at the thing, or perhaps allow Vorden more chances to see how the machine worked. Although their chances of winning were slim from the looks on their faces, they hadn't given up yet. Meanwhile, Zach was taken aback by the sudden situation. The very same student who emanated a huge amount of confidence before was still displaying that same amount of confidence right now. For some reason, he felt that it was natural that he tried his best in avoiding eye contact with Quinn. For a moment, he gave in to his urges and looked up. When his eyes met with Quinn's, he instinctively knew that this was a bad idea. A tingling sensation could be felt at the back of his brain. It was almost as if it was trying to burst out of its skull and run away. "What's wrong with you, Zach? Get it together!" Quinn entered the game zone and took a relaxed stance while in the circle. The others felt like it was all a show. They simply couldn't believe why he was extremely calm. "He'll be out in 10 seconds, one of them said. "Oh yeah, do you want to bet on it? I reckon 30 seconds for 10 credits, another replied. "He should be confident for a reason, right? I think 45, just before things start speeding up. Zach, do you want to get in on this bet? Zach didn't respond to them. Truthfully, he didn't want to tell the others his answer. Something was telling him that Quinn would be able to clear the entire thing. The game began, and the other group was carefully watching the timer instead of Quinn himself. They were all hoping to cash in their winnings. Once the timer went past the 10-second mark, a moan could be heard since one of them lost the bet. The seconds continued to pass by as it eventually crossed the 30-second mark. I can't believe it. The game entered the final 15 seconds. Now that all of their bets failed, they decided to look at Quinn. However, as they observed him, they found things to be quite odd. It still looked as if he was just casually standing in the same spot. The bars came swinging at him, and as one of them was about to hit him at the very last second, he would be able to block the attack with his arm. He would retract his limb and then repeat the same thing to the rest of the bars. Watching Quinn do this was painful for Sam's heart. It was as if someone was walking on a tightrope. Every single attack seemed to have been barely blocked at the last second. Sam watched at the very beginning of the round. Even when the machine moved at a slower pace, the attacks still looked as if they were just about to hit Quinn. Because of how things were going, he expected that Quinn would lose in the final 15 seconds. Beep! The sound of the game ending and the level being completed was heard. Sam's prediction was completely wrong. Whoa, will you look at that? He did it. Well, good news, there's no way he's getting past the next one. Right, Zach? Once again, Zach didn't respond. What the others failed to realize was that Quinn wasn't even out of breath. He didn't have a single sweat on him. Although the game was only a minute long, with the unusual amount of intense concentration and fast movements, it was still similar to someone doing a sprint. The next participant from Zach's group entered. It was time for level 4 to begin. All 6 compartments started moving at a faster pace. Not only that, but the machine also seemed to be doing more double attacks. It was attacking 2 different places at once. Even though the student was doing well, everyone could tell he was barely hanging in there. When the machine entered the final quarter, the first strike struck his foot, knocking him out of the game. There were now 3 contenders left, including Zach on the other team. Like before, Quinn entered the game and started in a similar way he left things. It even seemed like he never left the game. Quinn continued blocking each strike just before it would hit him. He would lift his limbs to block and simply place them straight back down. The reading on his watch, it has to be fake. Or maybe he's some sort of martial art expert or something. No wonder he's so confident. He's going to complete this, isn't he? Zach's thoughts were screaming in his head. The timer continued going up and entered the final quarter like before. But suddenly, a strange feeling rushed through Quinn's head, and at the same time, an abrupt pain in his stomach. Not now, he groaned out. 29 of 95 HP. It had been an hour since the last message had appeared. The shooting pains in his body could be felt. Instinctively, Quinn grabbed his head and leaned forward. This resulted in the bar striking him both on the head and stomach simultaneously, thus eliminating him from the game. Game over. Vex quickly rushed out to see if Quinn was okay. He realized what the problem might have been. Hey, why don't you just rest? It must be tough going through what you're feeling right now. Just leave it to me, I can handle these guys. Upon seeing Quinn lose, it was a relief to Zach. He didn't know what just happened, but someone must have wanted him to win this game. It was clear that Quinn was going to pass it the same way he did on the previous one. I knew he would eventually lose, it was only a matter of time, the others commented. They misinterpreted the situation and simply thought that the game was too much for Quinn to handle. With Quinn knocked out of the game, it was time for someone from Zach's team to enter again. This time, the person managed to clear the level 4 stage. Well, who's next? Zach asked. Vex stood up and took the mantle. This time, he felt someone tug on his sleeve. When he looked down, he noticed it was Quinn. You're going to do it again, aren't you? One of us can go twice, remember? Quinn said. Fine, Vex responded, as he sulked his way back to the rest of his team. After feeling like he suffered an unjust loss, he wanted to finish what he started. Since Zach and his group decided to target him, and had even gone as far as trying to snatch his newly bought equipment, if anyone was going to show them their place, it was going to be Quinn. When they saw who was walking up to the stage, they all started to laugh. Everyone else apart from Zach, that was. I forgot about that stupid rule. Why didn't we just make it 4 versus 4? He quietly complained in his mind, but things were too late now. This time, when the game started, Quinn chose to take on a fighting stance. It was the first time he had done so since he started playing the game. Before, he merely treated this game as a type of practice, trying to see how much he could block things before the very last second. Now that he had no second chances and the will to win rose in his heart, he chose to properly block everything. Even before the machine was able to move, Quinn could already hear the sound of each session activating. With the slightest movement from the contraption, Quinn placed his hand out. To the others, it almost looked like he was attacking the machine. Before the bars on each station had the chance to fully move, Quinn had already hit them. The machine would slightly nudge in certain sections, but it never had the chance to perform a full strike. If he was to hit one section of the machine before it even moved, then the game would have been declared a loss for the player. It was done like this so people would stop using this type of tactic. However, the game over sound never appeared. Instead, the beeping sound that indicated a completed stage resounded out. "Who the hell is this person?" Sam muttered out. At the same time, he also wished Nate was here to witness what he had just seen. Not even Nate would have been able to display something so great. "If you were here, Nate, I think you would have found a new person to be excited about." After witnessing such a display, Zach figured out something. If he wanted to win, then he needed to do something drastic. Episode 299, Finishing the Game. The whole group was silent after what they had just witnessed. Even Fex, who was the closest there in terms of skill and speed, felt like he would struggle at doing what Quinn had just done. That's confirmed it. He was to be evolving to the next level, but how did it grow so fast? And right in front of my eyes, Fex thought. It was strange, because Fex knew that Quinn wasn't in the Vampire Noble class. They just had a certain feeling about them. He was very close to breaking through to the next stage. However, Quinn was a little strange. Some of his skills, such as speed and strength, were already at the Vampire Noble level, but he could tell he hadn't evolved yet. Just how was this possible? This was all because of Quinn's unique situation of having the system while being a vampire. He grew stronger by consuming different types of blood. It allowed his stats to go beyond that of a regular vampire. "I'm going to speak to the admin. The machine has to be broken," someone from Zach's group said. The others were inclined to agree that this game was meant to be about blocking attacks, and it looked like Quinn was attacking the machine itself. "Looks like you're not so worried about revealing yourself then," Forden said. "It's not like I displayed any of my abilities. Besides, I doubt anyone would believe their story. Also, do you think they would go around telling people a level 1 user did all this to them?" Quinn replied. One of the students who was already knocked out from the game on Zach's side had gone to the game admin, who worked at the front, to see if the machine was broken. Zach knew it wasn't the case, but anything to stop this bet was a good thing in his eyes. Another person from Zach's team had started the game anyway. If it was broken, they could always just stop and move to a different booth. But as soon as the game started, it became clear that the machine wasn't broken and was working just fine. The students had expected the machine to be broken. The only way to complete the game like that was to hit the target as soon as he saw it moving to count it as a block. Due to him thinking this, he was slightly unprepared, and after just 10 seconds, the student was hit and out of the game. There were now only 2 people left on Zach's team. Quinn walked up to the game once again and started. Zach was looking at him closely, and so was Sam, hoping to see another amazing display of skills. This time, there was no such thing, and Quinn just blocked the upcoming attacks from the machine normally. There was a little bit of disappointment from both sides, as the game had ended normally. Quinn was frustrated after what had occurred last time, and to calm himself down, he wanted to perform at his peak. After calming down a little, there was no need, so he decided to play the game like normal. The others soon realized once again how impressive this was. The game was set at level 5, yet when Quinn was blocking the attacks, he made them feel like they were watching a game at level 1. He blocked them all so easily. Now that Quinn had passed level 5 on the machine, the 2 remaining students had to pass it as well. Otherwise, they would lose the game. Zach's last teammate walked into the gaming area that had begun. Before, their team was full of confidence, always being the one in the lead, but now they had the added pressure that if they were to lose, then it meant they would lose the game. They were the current underdogs. "How the hell did these crappy level 1s put us in this situation?" the student thought angrily as he was whacked in both the leg and head and was out of the game. The only one left now was Zach. He clenched his fist and walked up to the gaming area. This was another reason why he had chosen this game, simply because he had played it multiple times before and felt like he was better than the average person. When playing on level 5 previously, there was always a 50-50 chance that he would pass it on his first go. The game had begun, and Zack was fully concentrating on the targets coming towards him. He blocked the attacks with commitment, meeting them before they would fully reach their destination slightly. This meant he was getting hurt by the bars slightly, but he didn't care about that right now. Not hesitating as he blocked every single attack, the sound of the game over was heard to him. Level 5 passed. The cheering soon stopped, and the smile on Zack's face started to disappear as they saw Quinn confidently walk to the stage once again. They all no longer saw Quinn as the weak level 1, but instead as a monster at the game. Zack wasn't a religious man, but he started to pray to an unknown force, hoping that something would happen. He knew he only had a 10% chance of passing level 6 himself. If they were both to fail, then the game would be declared a draw, and they could both walk out of this pretending nothing ever happened. Level 6 start. Whack, whack, whack. The sound of the machine hitting against Quinn's body was constantly being heard as he continued to block each shot. While doing so, Quinn was starting to have a bit of fun, imagining multiple enemies trying to attack him. The game was good to practice one's reflexes, but was useless for learning any skill. There weren't many opponents whose attack patterns would be as simple as this, and it also didn't allow for one to practice attacking, using their skills. Still, Quinn was having a lot of fun, and finally was starting to have a bit of sweat on him. As the timer had reached 45 seconds, the smile on his face grew bigger. Seeing this, Zack already had his answer. Quinn was going to finish level 6, and perhaps could even go beyond. If he wanted to do something, he needed to do it now. Keeping his hand down by his side next to his waist, he opened up his palm and faced it towards the machine. He started to do a type of pulling motion, and suddenly the top section of the machine looked almost still. Inside the machine, the mechanism was being widened up as it was held back by a strange force. Zack had the power of magnetism and was holding back a part of the machine. Then, using all his strength, he released as well as pushing forward, causing the top section to swing out at a great speed.
For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have everlasting life.